I'm Emily.
And I'm Ethan.
We're traveling across America in search of its most captivating communities.
All the while, we're working from the road and taking the adventures as they come.
This is
Remote!
Discovered the most randomly adorable town of all time, right in the middle of Kansas. Lindsborg, Kansas is in the valley of the Smoky Hill River within the central Kansas wheat belt. But this isn't just any old Kansas town. It's the center of an old world culture unusual in this section of the country. Settled by Swedes in 1869, its architecture mimics that of a traditional Swedish village, with brick-paved roads and hand-painted Dala horses watching over every corner. The town channels a European charm. Its population is composed almost entirely of persons of Swedish birth or descent. Amidst the plains of Kansas lies something unexpected and extraordinary. Welcome to Kansas's one and only castle. As if the town of Lindsborg wasn't already interesting enough, it also features a castle up on a hill overlooking the town and the fields in the distance. A castle in Kansas? Why would this be here? Surprisingly, the castle has nothing to do with the Swedish heritage, but instead marks the spot where a local professor found a Spanish coin. It is believed that Spanish conquistador Francisco Vázquez de Coronado visited this exact spot in his search for the legendary city of Cibola. Rooted in Portuguese myth, the fabled Seven Cities of Gold, also known as Seven Cities of Cibola, were stories of ancient sites of native wealth that drove adventurers throughout the New World on a fruitless quest of a generation. It's pretty incredible how much history you can dig up in one small Kansas town. After visiting Lindsborg, we continued our journey east to Kansas City. If you like art and architecture and being surrounded by beautiful things, Kansas City is the place for you. We stayed in an Airbnb in a historic neighborhood near downtown called Union Hill. The neighborhood is home to a spacious and beautiful park called Penn Valley, as well as a National World War I museum and memorial.
There was a really cool World War I monument and museum nearby our Airbnb, and it was beautiful. Huge tower, like pillar with like a fire at the top that burned for all of the veterans and everyone who lost their lives in World War I. And it was a giant museum that was filled with artillery and like uniforms and different World War I paraphernalia, and talked about all the history, and had really beautiful poppy gardens to commemorate the soldiers.
Get back. Stay there. It was a beautifully historic neighborhood during a stunning time of year with the fall leaves just starting to turn. I enjoyed many hours of jogging and exploring this area. I am at the Union Cemetery, which is absolutely beautiful, right on Union Hill in the center of Kansas City. Things about this cemetery have really surprised me. Number one being it has a gift shop. You can actually buy t-shirts. Number two, I found a Confederate memorial. Even though Kansas City was part of the Union, they have established this memorial for the Confederate soldiers who died here. And it basically says, we are proud to honor a government broad enough and generous enough to erect a monument as this to their defeated enemies. And it talks about how Kansas City was actually attacked by the Confederates, yet they have chosen to forgive and remember and honor those dead, which I find very interesting. Yeah,
So,
Kansas.
oh, okay. You didn't want me to finish my thought.
Go ahead.
That's okay.
As night descended upon the city, the creatures of the darkness
descended upon Kansas City with snarling bloodlust in their search for flesh.
We're going to the most haunted place in Kansas City. Shh, no one's allowed to visit. In true ghost hunter fashion, we've brought our ergonometers. Now we will know for sure, without a doubt, scientifically verified, if there are ghosts on the premise. Thanks to technology.
I brought my jar of ghost jelly just in case.
There it is, folks. Sour Castle. We're in our first view. Out of nowhere, a mist appears, only in the block of the castle. Yeah, Kansas City had some really amazing and interesting museums. Big and interesting museums, and I wish that we had had more time to see all of them. I went to the City History Museum. City Museum is located on top of a hill overlooking the city, right next to Kessler Park. This neighborhood is known for having some of the most beautiful and historic architecture in the city. The museum is located inside a 4-story historic Beaux Arts style mansion named Corinthian Hall. It was owned by lumber baron and civic leader Robert A. Long as his private family estate. There were some fascinating exhibits about the natives that lived in the area, as well as some of Kansas City's more famous residents. There was a famous dog that lived in Kansas City that was like known as a miracle dog, and it could like tell the different types of trees apart, and it knew the names of the different types of trees. And so if you said go find an oak tree, it would go sit under an oak tree. And supposedly nobody ever trained this dog to do this stuff. He just magically knew it. So that was interesting.
Overall, I really enjoyed the World War I Museum and Kansas City as a whole, and definitely would like to go back sometime and spend more time downtown and get a better feel for that part of the city.
I have some cousins that recently moved to Kansas City, and they were raving about it. They said it's real cool. So we were excited to check it out. And it definitely has a lot to offer. It felt like a legitimate world city. All the monuments and museums and crazy cool architecture and history that's there. Like, this is actually a place that people from abroad would come visit. I mean, it's like culturally, I'd say it's on the scale of Chicago for sure, which I was not expecting. It's dog washing day.
So clean. You wash puppy now!
This city is a really lovely city, but it's still a city. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to get away from. The noise, the inability to see the stars, the trash on the side of the road. It's just what comes with a big city. And Kansas City is, I will say, one of the better ones I've been to this year. But now we're ready to move on, head back into the country, see some more cute small towns.